The reason I got into film was because I didn't believe what was going on the stage anymore. And I wasn't a good poet, and I wasn't a good painter. And then I didn't see many films until I came to the United States. And suddenly I started believing what I was seeing. And so, since I think without knowing it, I was trying to prove that I existed, I had to believe the image that existed. I was not given a sense of existence as a child. And of course, I mean, concentration camps wiped out all the old ideas about who we were. And film seemed real to me. And the artists I know, mostly painters who were close friends, I think they would say the same thing about their work. The object makes you real. If there's no object, you don't exist. And that, of course, is inherent in the work of those I admire very much. Seeing documentaries was very, very important because there's no question that the good ones, I absolutely believed. There are many, some that most people haven't seen, strangely enough. Say Hospital, or a wonderful film called Best Boy about a very modest family who you couldn't capture in any other way. I mean, no novel, no theater, nothing could render that. And there are many like that. And I figured if you can't get close to that in fiction, it's not worth doing. I came to the States in 45. The war was still on. I was 17. I turned 17 on the boat. I met Bob Young in college. I think there was a sense on both parts that we had something to teach each other. Bob was always very interested in documentaries, and I at the time wanted to do fiction. And after we graduated, we kind of lost touch with each other. He was down in Florida making underwater films. Then he started working at NBC, and I started working for a fiction feature film company. In 1962, Bob called me and said, I'd like you to come with me. I'm going to make a film in Sicily. And at that very moment, and for the first time in my life, I was offered another job, an extremely lucrative one. And what happened was that the day he was leaving for Italy, I came over to NBC and we went down the elevator together. This is in Rockefeller Center. He had his bags. Taxi for the airport was waiting outside, and I couldn't make up my mind. And Bob looked at me and he said, Mike, I don't think you're coming. And at that moment, I said, Bob, I'm coming. That decided me. And you know why? It was because he was disappointed. He really wanted me to come. And that's decided me. Being wanted. It wasn't a professional thing at all. It was the simple human thing of somebody wants you. And that was a big decision, and it changed my life, really, because we learned a lot from each other. I mean, that blend was, on the human as well as professional level, was a very key moment in, I think, both lives. Bob and I made essentially 4 films together. The first film we made was the one in Sicily, Cortile Cascino, which we loved, and we were very excited about it.
Cortile Cascino is the only place in Palermo where you're allowed to sort rags outdoors. Everywhere else, it has to be done inside so the germs won't spread.
It's a classical observational cinema rather than the kind of participation you get out of contemporary documentary, because it's not verite. Then we were commissioned to make a film called Faces of Israel. It's a very short film with no talk, but it's very beautiful. And then, because NBC had not shown the first film, the Cortile Casino, we quit. We left NBC. And Bob said, let's go south and make a film about the civil rights movement. He had made a film called Sit-In, and he had met these young people, and he said, they're marvelous people. I think Bob has always been more political. I was more interested in just the human difference between somebody who was born here and felt there was a lot wrong, and somebody who came from Europe and felt what a wonderful country. You know, I'm an immigrant. That's the bottom line. And so there was a difference there, a tension, but a very healthy one.
I haven't seen you around, have I?
No. I'm new in town.
Bob had a friend in the NAACP, and he gave us a letter saying these guys are okay, and they connected us with somebody in the community who would put us up. We went all through the South. We never stayed anywhere for more than 3 days, I would say, at the most. But in Mississippi, we were at the end of our journey, and we had run out of money, and I didn't know where there was going to be a story. What were we going to film? I think other people would have found a story more easily than I did.
Turn here.
I need to identify with the people I write about. I can't write from outside. And I think that everything we saw was economic or political.
I used to know them.
Yeah?
They've gone north.
I can see why.
And I don't think I could do a good job making a film or telling a story that doesn't involve interpersonal relationships rather than economic and social relationships. And it occurred to me that a story that I had written about my own family, especially my father, could easily be the heart of a story in the South. The circumstances of German Jews in the 1930s were not unlike those of African Americans in the Deep South during the Jim Crow period. I mean, Jews weren't allowed to sit on park benches. They weren't allowed to go to the movies. In most public places, they weren't allowed. The Germans felt that there was a contamination that you got from Jews, very much the way I think white people thought about black people in the Deep South. And, you know, both Bob and I felt that the North wasn't that much better.
Want to keep a job, boy?
What you think?
And do like I said.
We were very aware that the economic element was critical, that the pressure point on the black family was the inability of the man to earn a living.
Boy, you acting like a nigger with no sense.
And that's why black men light out. They leave. It destroys the family.
Yeah?
I'm looking for work.
I got a boy, thanks.
It was exactly like it was in Germany. My father couldn't make a living, and he went to Spain. And because he was unable to make a living, he didn't feel like he was a man.
You're not a man because of a job, done.
You don't know nothing about it. Nothing.
And I always felt that that was totally communicable to an audience, that everybody could understand that. There were many stories you could have told. Many people could have told other stories. The only story I could tell, and the only film I would ever make about African American life, was that one.
Like I said, baby, I'll write you.
We were going to shoot it in the South. We had, in fact, picked places where we thought we could shoot. And Bob Rubin, who was the third producer, said, don't try to shoot in the South. We'll be in a lot of trouble. Bob and I had we had no sense of safety about ourselves. We were in Oxford the day the riots broke out. And we thought nothing was going to happen, so we left. And if we hadn't left, they would have turned our car upside down. Every car that came from New York, they turned upside down, and they killed 2 journalists. They might have killed one of us. But we left because nothing was going to happen. If we'd known something was going to happen, we would have stayed. We were crazy. I mean, we weren't looking for trouble, but we were on a big adventure, just like in Sicily. I'd made films with actors before, but nothing but men. And everybody had confidence in me that I knew what I was doing, and I was helping them do what I thought they should be doing. And they felt okay about it.
That's pretty good for a preacher's daughter.
What'd you expect?
I'm very, very limited when directing. I mean, I can't stage a fight. Impossible. It would look ridiculous. I haven't got that. There are a whole lot of things like that I can't do. I have this very limited viewfinder, you know? And within it, I know what I'm doing, and outside it, I'm useless. Bob just supported me from the start. I mean, he said, "You're doing great, Mike. Just keep going." You know? But it was more than that. It was also the comfort of having somebody who really believed in you, as I really believed in him. The way he worked felt very close to what I would have done myself if I had any gift for operating a camera. I always turned to him after every take, and he'd say, he'd okay the take, you know. We shot in real places down in South Jersey, which is below the Mason-Dixon line. Nobody knows that, but we found it out. And there's a big African-American community who came there to work in the canneries for vegetables that were grown in South Jersey. Some of the architecture is quite southern. That church could have been in Alabama. Well, that was all luck. And when Dr. Anderson leaves the revival meeting at night, I mean, all those things happened because we were in effectively a southern community.
Trouble with you boys, you ain't got no sense of humor. You ought to smile more.
I know.
You're new here, man.
It was hard on everybody. There were tensions. The black actors wanted to stay in their own hotel, and the white actors stayed in our hotel. And I remember one time there was a terrible blow-up. Partly my fault, partly somebody else's fault. And I said to Abby, "Is there something you can do here to help?" And Abby and I were very good friends, always, till the end of her life. But Abby said, "Mike, you're white and I'm black. And whenever there is a problem there, I'm black." And, you know, that's how you learn.
Looks like you're doing a good job.
Thanks.
Don't say much, do you?
Guess I don't.
Just so you do your work.
Ivan was incredible because he didn't mind a white guy telling him, a black man, how to feel. It's absurd. You know, it's an absurd situation to get yourself into, where you're... my accent, I think, helped a lot. The fact that I was not an American, I don't like my accent, but there it is. And it helped.
Seems to me us colored folks do a whole lot of church going. It's the white folks that need it real bad.
I think if you tried living in a town like this, instead of running free and easy, you'd soon change your tune.
I doubt it.
Ivan was good every time you turn on the camera. There was no scene he had any trouble with, right through. I've never had that happen again. It was unbelievable, especially in retrospect, because I thought, oh, okay, that's how it's going to work. Well, it's not how it's going to work the rest of my life.
How come you don't hate their guts?
I don't know. I guess I'm not afraid of them.
If you read the script of Nothing But a Man, there's nothing on the page for Abby's part. Abby made Josie live. But Abby had to work at some scenes.
It ain't gonna be easy, babe.
And when she was able to do some very difficult moments, she was very happy. And that was lovely.
Mother used to lay for a boss, boy. Did you know that?
Shut up, Will.
Julius Harris was a male nurse. I mean, was he going to act? I don't know. And he was a very interesting actor. He was like a method actor who didn't know anything about method.
Yes, nobody.
Every time he was on was very exciting because it was so unexpected. In fact, the other actors would say, how did you get there? He had difficult scenes, and he was right on. Gloria Forster was very well known, unlike everybody else. She's in the cool world. And it was the only part for which we had actually a choice of several people. And Gloria came in, marched in, is more like it, and said, I'm going to play that part.
How often does he get like that?
Whenever he's got an edge on.
How often is that?
He's been hitting it pretty hard.
Gloria was an opera singer. She wants it all out there. And I'm, of course, the other way. She had all this energy. And I had to keep turning down the tap to a trickle.
If you don't quit it, Will, I'm leaving.
You're breaking my heart.
I don't like emphasis. So everything I do is non-emphatic, except that there are these things that happen that are very extreme. You may feel the tension all the way through, but the tension is subdued, except you're waiting for the explosion.
All right, now, you get out of here. Who you telling to get, boy? You watch your mouth, there'll be some dying done around here.
Dying's gonna be done two ways.
Let's go.
In the film, Duff gets a job with a white gas station owner who is threatened by some racists for giving the man a job.
What happened?
Never mind. You keep them working around here, and this place won't be around. And I ain't kidding.
We met a black man in South Carolina who ran a gas station, and he was holed up in his house with a gun because they really were trying to chase him out of town because he owned the gas station. You weren't allowed to own a gas station if you were black because they wanted black people to go to the white gas stations. They wouldn't bury you, they wouldn't wash your laundry, but they would put gas in your tank. So that was a taboo. And I remember that man. I mean, you don't forget somebody who has a shotgun, and everybody in town knew he was going to use it.
I guess we got trouble.
You ain't got none, mister.
So these incidental encounters would feed into the story which we were telling. I think Bob and I both felt that people should be looking close at black faces. And of course, I think white people didn't want to. we weren't without aggression, you know. I mean, there was a certain energy in forcing them to look.
Quit looking at me like that.
Duh. I love you.
Hey, well, that don't do me one damn bit of good.
We were on the side of the angels. I still want to be on the side of the angels, but I don't want to leave the devil out. And I mean, we didn't, but we shoved it all into the Father, you know.
Stop. He stopped breathing.
The scene at the father's death was very much out of my life. My father died. I didn't know anything about him. And that's where the funeral parlor scene came from.
Where was your father born?
I don't know.
You know, he stutters when he doesn't know how old his father was. He worked around, you know.
That window's broke, boy. You stay over there, you're gonna get awful wet.
Duff Anderson not only learns his lesson from his father's death, but then he picks up the boy whom he abandoned. I mean, that's it. I remember saying, we've got them, the audience. Well, I don't like that at all. I don't want to get the audience. I've had some mixed feelings about the film. I had them almost immediately when I saw the finished film, and I realized that there was a degree of manipulation in the script. And I knew it, but I didn't recognize it for what it was. I had learned over 12 years in the industry how to make an American movie. And it conformed to what Americans believe or want to believe. And what they want to believe is so strong that it trumps anything else. And I felt, when I saw the film, that it was very well done, but a little bit manipulative. And I didn't like it. I have some reservations about it, and I think it's okay to say them. If you're a filmmaker, if you don't see your own work critically, you're just going to repeat what you did. What happened after Nothing But a Man was that by incredible good luck, someone came and said, what do you want to do? And he gave us complete carte blanche and $800,000 to make a film, and we made The Plot Against Harry, and it was a complete disaster. Nobody liked it, nobody wanted to show it. I didn't have a source of income. Bob went to California, and he worked on American feature films, and he made Alan Brister, which was both social and economic. I was asked to make a film, a documentary about people who were dying. And that got me started again. I was always writing screenplays, and they met my existential need. And I couldn't raise money for them, which is the only reason I didn't make films. I would have loved to keep making films. I did make two more. One was called Pilgrim Farewell, and the other one was called Vengeance Was Mine. They were invited to Venice and to Berlin, but in America, nobody wanted to see them. I wish Bob were here, and the only reason he isn't here is because his health doesn't allow it. He was so very much the reason we made the film. I absorbed who Bob was, and it made me more of an American than I was. And I think Bob absorbed something from me that he got, you might say it was European, a more, the word is awfully heavy, but tragic, perhaps a lot less open, a more, may not work the way you want it to. I would not make another black film. I don't have anything more to identify with. And Bob has no problem like that. He's a humanist who feels that all human experience is accessible, and I'm not so sure. I have to get inside it, you know? I mean, I'm a director from inside, not from, I can't, I see it, but I feel it more than I see it. It's who you are, you know.